Hey everyone, welcome to another edition of the Way Wednesday. Today I have Jill from Walnut Hills, who is the CODA and Rehab Director. Say hi, Jill.
Hello.
So Jill and I today wanted to talk a little bit, or I wanted to talk to Jill a little bit today about ICD-10 coding. Um, she has done a great job of preparing her team and getting them all set and ready for the changes ahead. I mean, we've been talking a lot about how ICD-10 coding has always been important, right? More so though when we're looking at billing for Part B claims.
Right.
And we did have a bit of a learning curve with ICD-10 going into effect. And now that we've gotten pretty good at that when it comes to Part B, they're sort of switching up a little bit things for us with PDPM quickly approaching. It really is not that far away, right? And so we wanted to talk a little bit about preparing your teams, and I wanted to get some advice from Jill on how she did that. So, one of the things that I hear, Jill, a lot from our clinicians is that choosing the right ICD-10 code, particularly when we're talking about the medical diagnosis, is really hard for a lot of different reasons, right? Either you don't really have a good one, maybe you don't have a lot of diagnoses to choose from, maybe the facility staff is wanting us to use codes that we think maybe don't support medical necessity or that are going to end up being what they call a return to provider code. Maybe the list we're looking at is outdated. So, communication between our two teams, right, is really important. So I was hoping you would talk a little bit about that process, how it works with your team.
Right. So communication is really big here at Walnut Hills, and I think we do a really good job at it between therapy and the interdisciplinary team, and even just the whole building, back and forth, billing, MDS, everybody. So one thing we like to do in our morning meetings is discuss any new admits that come and just say what their diagnosis is. And the MDS normally comes up with the ICD-10 code first, and then in therapy, I'll bring it back, we'll discuss it, and we'll decide if it's a good one to use or a possible return to provider code, or even the unspecified codes we don't really like using that much. So a lot of the time, if we don't agree with it, say someone has a hip fracture and they didn't repair it, and the billing sees somewhere in the chart that they did repair it, or it's an automatic connection, oh, they had a hip fracture, so they repaired it. So we'll go back and we'll discuss with the MDS and the DON together and kind of see what would be the best code and what they read in the chart versus what we read in the chart. And then if there's still conflicting views, we'll even talk to the MDS coordinator and the MD to see if there isn't any different code that they see, or if they just misplaced that they had a hip replacement, and just to make sure we have the right code and that nothing's getting miscommunicated, so we don't have that return to provider or a denial in the future.
So how long does that process typically take on a regular basis when you're looking at all of those steps?
Normally it takes maybe half of the morning, if that. We have our morning meetings around 9, and then I'll bring back the code around 9:30 or 10. And then if we don't agree, the MDS coordinator and the DON are normally right there. The morning meeting's normally right by the therapy gym anyways, and so we'll talk it out. And then if we do have to consult the MD, we have a great MD that they can just fax or call, and they'll get us the chart information or the diagnosis that they think normally by that morning. So that way, if they need to change it in the evaluations, it's already there and they can change it that day.
That's good. That kind of relationship with the physician is important. It's good that you have that. So can you talk just a little bit, I just kind of want to leave everyone with how your team really settled on this process, because I know a lot of teams are kind of started that, I guess, two-way street really. Did everyone jump on board at first, or was there a bit of a learning curve?
There was a little bit of a learning curve. We actually got a new DON, and our MDS coordinator retired all kind of within a year.
Oh, wow.
And so that allowed us to kind of change things how we needed them to, and everyone was on board. for the new DON to learn things and the other MDS coordinator to kind of understand what we do. And then also with all of our rehab director meetings around PDPM, normally I come back, we talk about it, and then the nursing staff too is doing a lot of training on PDPM. And so with that and all the trainings that came of it, we knew how important ICD-10 coding is now and how even more important it's going to be here come October. And I think with that, everyone just jumped on board and was like, okay, we got to get this figured out now before October rolls around. And it's super important to make sure we have the right codes and we don't have those return to provider codes.
Right. All right. Well, thanks so much. I really appreciate hearing your perspective. We love hearing from how it's actually working in the real world.
Right.
We do try to give as much direction as possible, but hearing stuff like that is really kind of, I think, invaluable for everyone else who's watching. So thank you, Jill. I really appreciate your time. If you have any questions for Jill or for me, just let us know in the chat box below, or you can send us an email or ask a question directly just on the Facebook page via a post, and we'll take a look at it and approve it and answer it for you. Thanks so much. We appreciate it, and happy documenting. Thanks, Jill.
Thank you.